Hey guys, it's Eminem back again with another video in Seoul, and today let's talk about the strangest encounters that I've had so far. To those of you who know, I've been studying abroad for 8 months now in Seoul, South Korea, which has added up to a lot of time for stuff to happen. Surprisingly, I have not had very many strange experiences, but recently I've had a lot. That's why I thought about this video. So it is COVID times, like there's a lot of restrictions still. I know when I was about to come to Korea, I watched a lot of like clubbing, weird people's experiences. Those don't happen as much because like the clubs, the atmosphere has changed a little bit along with all of Korea's society right now. But let's just jump into the weird things that have happened to me recently. So I go to Korea University and we're in a quieter neighborhood. You can definitely be in a more popular one, but I was walking with my friend on the streets and this man offers us a churro. And I just took it because if I take it, like he won't bother me, but my friend did not. And he would not leave us alone. I believe he was drunk, but it was 6 p.m., so I'm not sure. And she was like, no, no, and started walking away, and he followed us. He was like, hey, get over here, like, try this churro in Korean. But, so, we just didn't respond, and I was holding a churro in my hand. And then he's like, you, give it to your friend. And I was like, okay, and so he gave me another one. And he keeps chasing after my friend, like, why don't you trust me? As if he thought we assumed the churro was poisoned. So he was like, look, and he ate it and was like, I'm fine. And then he told me, so I took a little bite, which I might be a little too trusting, but I guess we'll see. And I was fine, but my friend was not giving in. And I'm like, if you just took it, we could have left. But he ran across the street with us, and I was here dying laughing. Maybe I should have been helping her, but it seemed harmless. Like, this whole situation seemed harmless. It was just really weird. And he finally, like, took no for an answer after 5 minutes, and a group of people were walking over. But I had 2 churros, my friend had 0, and this drunk churro man just started walking the other way. So that was the first experience. That was really, really weird, but kind of lighthearted, because the other ones are not as cool. But part 2, like the second weird thing that has happened, was my second time ever going to a club, and this club is a little different vibe, so it's B1, which is my favorite of all time. But my friend and I, again, same friend, we're sitting there, just 2 of us on a Sunday night because we don't want to go on the busiest nights of the week since we are not used to clubs. And we're sitting there and we see these 2 men kind of eyeing us. It's very obvious. They're like, and then they look away, they walked by, they did all this stuff. They finally approached us, and my friend and I had not really drank anything, so we are completely sober, nothing, like, we wouldn't be tempted by anything with our drunk minds because we're sober. And this man hits me with pickup lines that are just the weirdest things I've ever experienced in my life. He first introduces himself. No, he does not introduce himself, but he says he is a vampire. And then he says he is Edward Cullen and his friend that's hitting on my friend is Jacob. And so he's like, yeah, we're a werewolf and a vampire, like you gotta watch out on a full moon. What? So I'm laughing, like it's kind of funny, but he is definitely like trying to bite my neck. He starts moving my hair and he's like, do you want to live forever? No. I don't know, this is kind of weird. It was really funny. And then he also pulls up saying he is the son of Samsung, and also was like, look at my phone, like it's the newest one, and it was an Apple. So he was being so stupid. He wouldn't tell me his age. He did not tell me his name. He was actually trying to get me to guess his name at the end. How am I supposed to? The music is loud. I don't know you. So he was drawing it on my leg, which is when it got kind of weird. because he's like inching inwards, but he's drawing his name on my leg for like 5 minutes because I cannot understand what it is because I have fishnets on and jeans on and there's too many textures on my leg. But this vampire man was just being so weird, and his friend was hitting on my friend in really weird ways as well. So finally, like, it's kind of normal. He's just being kind of a creepy person now, but dance a little bit, and then we ran away. Like, we were like, let's just get rid of vampire and werewolf guy for now because they're too weird for us. We weren't even interested in the beginning, but he just walks up and is like, hello, I'm Edward Cullen. Does that work? Do girls fall for that? Apparently, because he was making out with another girl later that night. But what? Okay, that was number 2. The next 3 experiences have all been on the subway, which, if you know anything about Korean public transportation, it's dead silent. Like, you might hear 2 people having a very, very quiet conversation, but if you were talking out loud, people are like, shut up, what are you doing? So it's extra awkward when people do talk because it draws all the attention to them. So the first one is very, very brief. But my friend and I were sitting on the subway on our long ride, and this old lady just walks up and sits right next to us. She has her mask like down here because you still wear your mask in Korea. And she just goes, Russian spies. And we were like, huh? Because we're the only foreigners there. She chose to sit right next to us. She was on the other row across from us, and then she moved to sit next to us, and there was no reason for her to move. There were plenty of seats. She just said it. She didn't say it to us. She just said it outwardly. And then I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And she just didn't do anything, and then she got up, walked across again, and just like watched us. So that was really strange. Like, I just was very confused. Am I the Russian spy? It was my friend. Was she just saying it in general? Because that's a pretty weird thing to say, especially right now with the Ukrainian invasion going on right now. So I just thought that was really weird. Definitely not a normal occurrence. But this next one is a normal occurrence on line 6, which is the line I have to use to get basically anywhere because it's the only subway that's near my school. There is this man who loves Jesus. Cool, whatever. But he's walking on the subway up and down until he sees a foreigner, and he walks up to you and goes, "Welcome to Korea! Have you heard of Jesus?" and gives us candy and pamphlets. We're on a dead quiet train. I'm looking at my phone and he's like, "Ah!" And everyone's like, what is going on? And so he luckily makes it really short, but he kind of gives us a little spiel and hands us some stuff, and we're like, thank you. And he's like, where are you from? Like, do you know Jesus? Do you know God? And we're like, we're from America. Yeah. Everyone's watching us right now though. So we've encountered him 3 times on the subway, and this happens a lot, like not just on the subway, but while you're walking down the street, someone might walk up to you and either say like, oh, Jesus, like, and give you stuff, or they'll scream at you, you're going to hell. Because that has happened while we're walking in Hongdae. This man is chanting in Korean on a microphone, and then he turns to us and says, burn in hell, and then keeps chanting in Korean. So that was definitely directed at us. Felt kind of weird. Korea has a lot of like Christians that are out there spreading the word, sometimes positively and sometimes negatively. So you will run into it. If you don't, like, you must be very unapproachable, because it has happened to me at least 20 times. So the last experience I can think of off the top of my head, there might be a part 2 of this video, is another time on the subway, and it was actually very uncomfortable. So I was in a group of 4. We were going to Hongdae that night, but it was like 6 or 7 in the evening. So we get on the subway, we transfer, and we're on this other line. but we can only stand. We cannot sit because it's too busy. And this older man who looks like he could be at least 40 is kind of hovering around us. It's normal to be stared at here and feel a little bit uncomfortable, but he was like listening in and watching us, and we're standing in the corner over here, and he's like over here, and then he walks here, and then he walks over here, and like keeps circling around us. So we're a little uncomfortable. We understand that he's like watching us. So then we are silent for a second, and he's kind of like, "You guys from America?" in a perfect American accent. So he must have been in America before, I don't know, but this is a Korean man, and he asked that, and my friend replied like, "Yeah." I shook my head, "Yeah," and the other two like didn't respond because we're not used to speaking to strangers on the train, especially old people. And he was like, "Ah, yeah," and then like we didn't say anything else. He's like, "Why are you so shy?" in a kind of like demeaning way. And again, my friend replied, she's like, "Oh, we're just like kind of tired. Yeah." And he was standing like next to her, so she kind of was replying. I was also looking at him, but the other two girls were a little further away, so they were a little protected. And I think we both had different strategies on how to deal with this man, but he was like, "Oh, I see. You look like you're going out, though." And we're like, "Ha ha ha, yeah, like, kinda, I guess." He's like, "You should really go home, though. You know, Corona." And then just, like, keeps with this really condescending tone. It was really awkward. And how does he know anything? Like, we might just be getting dinner. We might be going home. Why is he like, "You should go home, little girls"? And so we're like, cool. And we're just on our phones, like, ignoring him now. And so now he's over here, and he walks around and sits down. So he's at eye level with my friend's butt. And we're like, oh god, he's gonna, like, do something. And as he's sitting down, he's like, "Ugh, I'm just so tired," in that exact way. He was taking our words and making fun of us with it. So we were getting really creeped out, and the two of us that were facing him a little bit could see he was just staring at us and like watching us, waiting to say more things to us. And the fact that he was like speaking so rudely was kind of giving us a little bit of a creepy vibe, and he was circling around. He could have sat down this entire time, but he stood, walked around, and then sat down. So my friends and I were like, "Hey, let's get off at the next stop, even though it's not our stop." And we're like, "Okay, yeah, next stop is ours. Yeah." And then he stands up, and we're like, "Oh no, he's also getting off." And he like follows us to the door, but we get off, and he chooses not to leave. So I was having a heart attack. My friends and I were all like, "Oh my god, run to the stairs so we can leave." I was afraid. Like, he was actually really creepy, and just the way he was speaking to us was not normal in any way. So luckily, we all got off the train. We waited for the next train to come, and we were on our way again. But apparently, this man might, like, do this often, because I've heard stories similar to this before, and it was just really uncomfortable, and we were terrified he was going to follow us off the train. Thankfully, he did not. So I don't know if he was having a bad day and hates foreigners, even though he obviously has lived in America. He had the perfect American accent. So I don't know. I think he was upset that we did not want to talk to him, which, that's his own problem. You shouldn't be a creepy old man then. So that was a few experiences that I have had in my 8 months. If any more happen, I will be sure to fill you in. But it's always like, keep an eye out. Korea is safe. I've never felt immensely in danger. I've been creeped out, but I have not felt like I was going to die or get kidnapped, which is good. Korea is safer than America. So there is that, but there's definitely a lot of creepy stories because foreigners are an easy target We don't exactly know what's going on all the time, and we're just trying to have a good time sometimes. So I've been trying to be careful, and it seems to always happen to me and my one friend. So that's kind of funny. But comment down below if you have any similar experiences or any questions about studying abroad in Korea. And I'll see you in the next video.